everyone, today we're making yogurt and Greek yogurt. We will do it two different ways. First with an Instapot, second on the stove and in the oven. Let's get started. The first method, we will use an Instapot. My Instapot comes with a special yogurt function, which is what we will be using to create the yogurt. The ingredients for this recipe are 1 gallon of whole milk and half a cup of yogurt. Not all yogurts are the same. I actually prefer using this Faye Greek yogurt, but you could use normal yogurt, you can use different types of Greek yogurt, and all different brands actually create a sort of different kind of flavor. So experiment with the flavor that you like and the type of yogurt that you want to use. I prefer using the Faye. Some special tools required to make this recipe are an instant read thermometer. Now, if you want to make Greek yogurt, you will need 2 extra tools. You will need a strainer or colander of some type, and the strainer should be large enough to hold about a gallon of milk. You will also need cheesecloth. The cheesecloth I am using is a grade 90, and it's a very fine mesh, and it comes in large sheets that you can customize to the size you need to fit your size strainer. The grade of your cheesecloth does matter. If you have a cheesecloth that's not as fine of a mesh, then you will have to fold a couple layers in order to create a good seal so your yogurt doesn't pour right through. This very fine mesh cheesecloth is the perfect type of cloth that I've been using, and it allows me to strain the yogurt really well and create a really great Greek yogurt. The difference between normal yogurt and Greek yogurt is really just a straining process. Greek yogurt is thicker, and they achieve that by straining out the whey inside the yogurt. Making yogurt is a 3-step process. It requires heating the milk, cooling the milk, adding your yogurt starter, and then waiting for that to turn into the yogurt. And optionally, the 4th step would be, if you want to make Greek yogurt, strain the yogurt. One more important safety tip is that when you are making yogurt, you are making a fermented product. To make your yogurt safe, you're going to want to make sure that you have very clean and sterile equipment, that you wash your hands when you touch the yogurt, and all these sorts of things. So just make sure to keep everything clean. To make the yogurt in your Instapot, go ahead and plug it in, and then you'll remove your lid. So we are making a 1 gallon recipe. If you wanted to make more or less yogurt, you could do that. You could actually fit about 1.5 gallons of milk inside the larger Instapot, and you will still use the same amount of starter. There are lines inside the Instapot that indicate different levels of the pressure cooker settings. However, since we're not doing a pressure cooker setting, you can actually fill the milk line all the way up to about 1 inch from the top, and you can fit about 1.5 gallons of milk inside the machine. Let's go ahead and pour in our milk. Once your milk is in, go ahead and put the lid back on. Lock it in place and turn the knob on top to make sure it says venting. Next, you will go ahead and hit the yogurt button, and you want to set it to where it's less normal more. You want it to go to more, and you want the readout to say boil. Now it says boil. You will heat your milk to between 180 to 185 degrees. You do not want to go under 180 degrees. The 180 degree temperature mark is the point where inside the milk, the proteins and everything start to denature and come apart, and that's what gives you that yogurt thickness, consistency, and all those things. So make sure you hit the 180. If you go a little bit over, it's okay. That's why I'm saying 185 is probably as high as you want to go. Although the Instapot says boil, which is 212 degrees, it will actually not boil your milk. It will stop short of 180, and when I do about the 1.5 gallons, it gets to about 170. So what I do then is use the saute function and put that on low or medium, and I keep stirring my milk until I reach 180 degrees. So now that our milk is set to the boil function, we will leave this and we will come back when it's done. It took about 1 hour for the Instapot cycle to fully complete, and it now says yogurt on the front of the machine. We now know that the heat cycle has been completed. Let's go ahead and check the temperature to make sure we hit 180 degrees. Using my thermometer, it says we're only at 170 degrees. Let's go ahead and fix that. First we'll hit cancel to shut off the yogurt function. Then we'll hit saute. And since I'm standing here, I'm going to do medium. So we'll do a medium cycle, and now just let it go, and the machine will kick on. And it's going to start heating the milk again. It takes roughly about 5 minutes for the machine to heat up and get the milk to that 180 degrees. At this point, I would just stand here and stir the milk to make sure nothing burns on the bottom. Okay, so we hit the minimum requirement of 180. I'm currently at 183 degrees. So let's go ahead and hit the cancel button. That will shut off the saute cycle. Now, in order to cool the milk faster, it's best to take it out of the Instapot. So very carefully use a towel and just pick it up and set it on the counter somewhere. You're going to want to cool it now to between 110 and 115 degrees. So let's go ahead and do that. At this point, you can go ahead and take your half a cup of yogurt out and set it on the counter. So when you reach the 110 degrees, we'll be all good to go. Our milk is at exactly 110 degrees. Remember, you want to be within that 110 to 115 degree range, and you don't want to really be outside that. If you're over 115, just give it a little more time to cool down. If you are under 110, put it on the saute mode in the Instant Pot and heat it back up to 110. Or if you're using the stove, just turn the heat on and just bring the temperature into that range. Now that we are here, we're going to go ahead and add in our half a cup of yogurt. Go ahead now and whisk up the yogurt and break up any big clumps. When I make a larger batch of yogurt, typically when I make my 2-gallon batch, a skim will form on top. So I'll wait till the yogurt reaches 110 degrees. Then I will carefully lift the skin up and throw it away. And I don't like to blend it into the yogurt because sometimes you find it in the end and it's just not very pleasing. We'll go ahead and now put the lid back on. Make sure your knob at the top is set to venting. On the settings, there's the less, normal, and more. We will not use the less. The more was the boil, so we want to use the middle one, which is the normal. So we'll hit yogurt until we get to normal. Now we have to set our time. I will set it for 12 hours. All that really does is make sure that the Instapot keeps going for that amount of time. But I will come back in actually 8 to 12 hours, somewhere in that range, and I'll check the yogurt and make sure it's perfect and right where we need it to be. I have had the yogurt go up to about 15 hours once before because I forgot about it, and it's actually okay. The yogurt might pick up like a sour sort of taste to it just because the bacteria is eating all the sugar in the milk, so you're kind of pulling out those that sugar, that sweetness that the milk kind of has naturally. If you do go too long, you could always just add in some extra sugar and you'll get a pretty good yogurt still. Once the yogurt is finished, you can go ahead and add in any sugar that you want to try and sweeten up the yogurt. I would add in fruit in smaller batches though. If you're someone who likes like fruit in the bottom yogurt, I would just do that in individual cups because the yogurt will last longer than your fruit will. Lastly, you don't need to mix your yogurt anymore. Just let it sit in the Instant Pot or in the oven and it'll do its own thing. And right now it's very fluid and very loose, but when you go and check on it in 8 to 12 hours, it's actually going to look like yogurt, and it's pretty cool how it solidifies. We'll see you in 8 to 12 hours. Alright, so this is the Instapot yogurt after 8 hours. And there's your yogurt. When making the yogurt on the stovetop and in the oven, it requires, again, 1 gallon of milk and about half a cup of your starter yogurt. Special equipment will be using a pot that can hold at least 1 gallon of milk and also have a lid. You will also need your instant read thermometer, and when you put the yogurt in the oven, you will need a towel that is large enough to cover it. Now, putting a towel in the oven is a safety hazard if you were to go ahead and turn on your oven afterwards. So, as part of safety precautions, You should also, as part of the ingredients, create a sign that says, "Warning, yogurt in oven, do not turn on," and tape this over the buttons on your oven so no one in your household accidentally goes and turns the oven on. And that is a very important safety measure to make sure you don't start a fire inside your oven. Alright, now let's take this over to the stove and let's make our yogurt using the stove and oven method. Making your yogurt in the Instapot is much easier than doing it in the oven or using the stovetop. One key feature of the Instapot that's really nice is that once we pour milk in and we set the setting, it just does its thing, heats the milk up to about around the proper temperature, that 180 degrees, and then it won't scald the bottom of the pot or anything like that. So let's go ahead and pour our 1 gallon milk into the pot. Now I'm going to set this to a medium. Using the stove method though, you will have to come back and stir it about every 5 to 10 minutes or so, just to make sure nothing burns on the bottom. Alright, so let's go ahead and temper yogurt. We're at about 180 degrees. I'm going to go to about 182 just to be safe, to make sure everything in the pot is perfectly at temperature. You could tell that you're getting very close to 180 degrees when the top of the milk starts to get very foamy and you start to see steam coming off the top. That's when you know you're getting really close, and when you should start to pay attention in those last final moments to make sure you don't burn or boil your milk or anything like that. If you start to see brown pieces floating in your milk as you stir, that means that the bottom of your pot is burning and you need to turn the temperature down. It doesn't mean that the process is over, it just means that be a little more careful and try not to touch the bottom of the pot and pull up those brown pieces. If you want to, you could also switch to another pot if you have one and just use a clean pot. Now we're just going to let it cool down to between 110 to 115 degrees. If you want to let it cool faster, you should give it a quick stir every so often, and I would also leave it uncovered. Now when you leave it uncovered, you're going to have that skin that forms on top, but don't worry, we'll just come by later and we'll peel that right off. Our yogurt is now cooled to 110 degrees, and that's within that range of 110 to 115. Let's go ahead and add in our yogurt. Now that we whisk in the yogurt, let's put the lid on and we're going to wrap it in the towel. The towel is going to help hold in the heat, and it's going to help the yogurt stay at that perfect temperature, that 110 range that we want to be in. Before we put the yogurt in the oven, two things. One, make sure the oven is cooled down. If you cooked something recently and the oven was hot, I would not put the yogurt in. You want your oven to be nice and cool, and you want it to, and don't mess with the temperature or anything like that. Two, you want to just turn the oven light on. The oven light will actually generate enough heat to keep the oven at the proper temperature that we're looking for. So let's go ahead and we'll place the yogurt in the oven. We'll then put up all of our warning and safety equipment, and then we will come back anywhere from 8 to 12 hours from now, and you will have finished yogurt. And here is the stovetop yogurt after 8 hours as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and strain this to make Greek yogurt. Now that we made our yogurt, let's go ahead and make Greek yogurt. The difference between yogurt and Greek yogurt is the process of straining it. In front of me I have 3 different types of strainers. One would be for maybe a larger batch, this might be for about like a half gallon, and then this is the strainer that I use when I make my 2 gallons of yogurt. If you want, you can buy extra large coffee filters, and that works perfectly. You would just place it inside, place your yogurt inside of the coffee filter, then you want to make sure to cover the top of your yogurt as well. If you want to use cheesecloth, which is my preferred method, you will go ahead and just Take the cheesecloth. If you're using the correct grade, you can just use one layer. If you're not, you'll have to use multiple folds. But you would just place the cheesecloth into the bowl, and then you'll fill it up with your yogurt, and then put the cheesecloth on top, and then let that sit for the recommended 2 to 4 hours. Traditional Greek yogurt, you'll start to see that consistency that you get from the grocery store at about that 2 to 4 hour mark. However, if you wanted to have a really crazy, super thick yogurt, you could actually go overnight or maybe 2 or 3 days. Just make sure you keep it in the fridge. But what's going to happen is all that whey, as you keep straining it, is going to keep coming out, and you're going to be left with this super crazy thick yogurt. And that yogurt has the consistency of cream cheese, and it's delicious for different types of savory spreads where you can put things like herbs and sun-dried tomatoes, and then inside of that super thick yogurt, and you can put it like on a crostini. You could also use that yogurt in making desserts like a raspberry cream pie. So there's lots of possibilities aside from just breakfast when you're making your own yogurt. If you make Greek yogurt, after you finish straining it, that is when you're going to want to go ahead and add your sugar or anything like that to sweeten it. This is how it looks before we blend it. So the first one we have here is the Greek yogurt blended. This is going to be a very thick yogurt once it sits in the fridge a little bit longer. It's very smooth. All the chunks are broken up, and it just is my favorite type of yogurt. So we can just kind of see just how smooth that yogurt really is. Here we have the Greek yogurt unblended. This is a very thick yogurt. It has a lot of texture, and it is the same yogurt that we use to make the blended. So you could really see the difference between the two. Here we have the stovetop yogurt. It looks very smooth. It turned out very well. This is not blended. These two are not blended at all, and this just looks fantastic. If we move over to the Instapot yogurt, it does have a little bit more texture in it, and it's not as smooth as the stovetop, but all the flavors taste pretty much the same, and it's just really kind of based on your style of, do you like plain yogurt, Greek yogurt, do you want a smooth texture? All 4 yogurts were absolutely delicious. The Greek yogurt had a much stronger yogurt flavor, which is expected because it's a little more concentrated, but overall it really depends on what you like and your preference. I started this video with 2 gallons of milk and 2 packs of starter yogurt from the grocery store. The milk price was a total of $6, $3 per gallon, and each starter packet of yogurt was $1. So in total, I spent $8 to prep for this video. Now, if we look at what we've created, we have approximately 1 quart of regular yogurt, and we have approximately 3.5 quarts of Greek yogurt. 1 quart of normal yogurt at the grocery store will run you about $3. 1 quart of Greek yogurt will run you approximately $5.69. If we go ahead and do the math, we have 1 quart of yogurt here for a total of $3. Then we have 3.5 quarts of yogurt, which comes out to pretty much $20. If we add those 2 numbers together, we have created $23 of yogurt, or a home profit of $15. So if we go ahead and add it all up, we spent $8, we created $23 of yogurt, so we've made a $15 home profit. You can use whey in a variety of different ways. I recommend you do a quick Google search to find out what you can use whey for exactly, but I do know that you can use some of it in your garden if you're a home gardener. If you end up going too long and your yogurt becomes too thick, you can actually just go ahead and take some of this whey and mix it into the Greek yogurt, and it'll actually start to loosen it back up and get you to the consistency that you're looking for. If you like what you saw here, go ahead and hit that like button. Then be sure to subscribe for any new videos. See you next time.